Hello, everybody. Jambo, how are you? Hope you are all doing well. Welcome once again to my channel. My name is Sharon Baraka, and as always, you are very welcome. Guys, I have another important and very, very good information that I want to share with you guys. I told you I'll be bringing you information about people who have made it here to the UK on the skilled worker visa route. And in today's video, I have yet another person that I would like you to hear from. And this is somebody that I know on a personal level. So guys, without further ado and without saying anything much, help me to invite and introduce our guest for today. Hello, Ken.
Hello, Sharon. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Oh,
It's good to be
thank you.
here.
Thank you because of accepting my invitation to come onto my YouTube channel today so that you can talk to my viewers about the skilled worker visa. But before we get into that, would you like to introduce yourself to my viewers? Tell us who you are, where you are, and where you are from originally.
Okay, yeah. My name's Ken Brand. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, and I live now in Manchester, UK.
Fantastic. All the way from New York,
Yes.
from the States.
Yes. Over by Niagara Falls.
Yeah, you guys call it the States. Oh, thank you, Ken, because of joining us. So the purpose of me inviting you into my channel is I do YouTube content about skilled worker visa and the process of how people can make an application to come to the UK on the skilled worker visa. So I'm just going to ask you briefly, if you just explain to us how the process is or how the process was for you when you made the skilled worker visa. Were you in the UK or were you in the States when you made the application?
When I made the application, I was actually in the UK already, but it was a long road of studying in university before that. I think there was a bit of a build-up to that point, really, in targeting the right degree, and then work, visa sponsors, and things like that. So I would say the preparation for it took long before, I made that application.
Right. Okay. So you studied here in the UK for your degree, and then after you finished your degree is when then you were given the offer.
Yes.
So what was take us through the process of making the application?
So I would say I moved here, I think around 2014. And at the time I was studying criminology and was going down that route. But, something changed in me where I didn't really want to be involved in law enforcement anymore. And I wanted to take a more humanistic approach. And the way I kind of fell into this position and getting this actual visa was I actually took a look at UK's website for occupations that they're lacking in the country, and they need outside support from outside of the country. And on there was social work. And I thought that really came in line with what I wanted to kind of do with my education in criminology. And that also was something that the UK needed.
Right. Okay. So you didn't have to go to the States to make the application, because before you was on a student visa, and obviously you had now to change your visa category into the work visa.
Yes. So I ended up switching degrees. I did a master's in criminology, but then from there, I did a postgraduate degree in social work.
Right.
Because I've targeted certain organizations that I wanted to work for because they were visa sponsors. And that was the second half of it. Not only did I target the occupation that I was trying to go for, but then I would look up who were actual visa sponsors in this job field. So to kind of target them inside of my degree when I was doing work experience and placements.
Wow. So you're a social worker by profession, and
I am, yes.
And social work is one of the occupations that is in the shortage occupation according to the Home Office list.
Yes, I think it's called the National Occupations Shortage List.
Okay.
And from that list, they are actually looking for skilled workers outside of the UK. You can apply whether you're a student within the United Kingdom or if you're outside of it.
Wow, wow. So, and in terms of finding the job itself, where did you find the job?
So there's another list that you should look up if you're coming to kind of target a skilled workers visa, and that are the National Registry of Visa Sponsors. And you can go on there, and I use the keyboard shortcut Control F, and I'll search for specific targeted keywords. So I'm not searching through thousands and thousands of different employers to try to find a few that are registered visa sponsors for my general profession.
Right. Yeah, because it's not everybody, it's not all the employers that are qualified to issue the sponsorship visa. Yeah. So you say that you targeted by going to Control F1. On what website is that you do that?
That's on any website. It's even on, your Word documents. It's just Control F, and then it'll pop up a little text bar, and you type in the keywords that you want to find on that page. And that's the way I kind of sped up the searching process, because there are thousands and thousands in alphabetical order. So it is kind of tedious to search the entire list. But, for my example, being a social worker, some of the things that keywords for me were council, because I would be getting a public job. So it popped up all the councils that had visa sponsorship licenses. And from there, that's where I would try to get my placements.
Oh, wow. Well, that's actually very good advice, because you can then narrow down all the organizations, all the jobs, depending on what it is that people are wanting to come and work here as. I have seen the list that you're talking about, and it is a huge list. It's got thousands and thousands. Oh, yeah, there's no way you can go into it one by one. It's just really, really tedious.
At first, I did try to do that, go through them one by one, but it was taking me way, way too long. And then a friend suggested to me this shortcut, Control F, and then try to almost target things with specific keywords. And I'm sure there was a lot more sponsors that I didn't find for my specific profession. However, it was the easiest way for me to go about it, is target it, use a few keywords and search through those if I could get relative placements while in university. So I could transition very easily from that tier 4 to that tier 2.
And how was the transition for you? Was it a difficult transition? Was it easy?
It was a bit stressful. Specifically for my situation, being from the United States, they have to do market research tests if I'm applying for a job that is a skilled worker, because they have to kind of check to make sure there's no European nationals that can do my job at the same level that I would be able to do it. So the way I kind of circumvented that part of the visa process as well is by finding a job that was in a national shortage.
Right.
Because of that reason, I know for a fact they don't have anyone available to work those positions, because they're on the national shortage list.
Sure.
Otherwise, it would have been very, very difficult for me to find a position in the public sector.
Yeah. And I know one of the criteria that the Home Office have said is that those job opportunities are going to be provided once an organization have tried to fill it within the UK, and they have been unable to fill that position, then they can go outside and recruit from outside the UK. Yes.
So for my situation, the reason that it was difficult, if I hadn't have done that, is they've got to test everybody else to see if there was no one else that could be a social worker besides me. if it was the other way around and it wasn't on the occupational shortage list. And with the United States and the UK, we don't have a lot of acts or treaties for immigration. So it's very, very difficult. You have to have a need to be here.
But you were already here as a student, so
as a student studying, yes.
Yeah, studying. So that possibly made it a bit easier for you because you were already in the UK, and then it was easier for you now to target the employers that
Yes.
are already here in the UK and they need that that position to be filled. So, but
Yes.
in terms of now switching the visa from
Yeah.
student visa into your skilled worker visa, what requirements does the Home Office require?
Right. So you have to have, your employer be your sponsor. So you have to get a certificate of sponsorship, a COS.
Yeah.
It's like abbreviated to, and you have to apply to that within your employer. You would talk to your HR department and have them issue that. Because they pay yearly for their visa sponsorship license. And once they have that, they're able to just give you that relatively quickly.
All right.
As long as you make the criteria, you have to prove that you meet the criteria for that position. So for example, my requirement to get that certificate of sponsorship was to show that I was registered with HCPC at the time, but Social Work England, to show that I was a registered social worker. Then they gave me my certificate of sponsorship.
Oh, that's actually quite important because obviously social work is a regulated career. So you had to register with Social Work England before you could get the certificate of sponsorship first.
Yes, because I had to prove to my employer that I was actually a social worker and registered in England.
Right. And
so,
then
if you were like NHS, it would be the same thing. You would have to show your professional license to be able to get that certificate of sponsorship.
I wonder how it would work for somebody who is not in the country, because Social Work England is only in the UK. If someone has practiced as a social worker in their own country and they would like to find a job as a social worker in the UK, I wonder what the process is. Do you have an idea?
I do, kind of, because I know of social workers that have traveled back to the United States while getting a UK kind of education. And really, you have to apply with Social Work England. What would be the process to become registered? And I'm sure that your employer would kind of help you out through that route because they've probably been through it with more than one person. If they're a visa sponsor, they've gotten that for a reason. Usually they won't just get that for one person, and they've been through this process multiple times. So anytime I was kind of confused on the process, I would reach out to a specific department that handled the visas within the council I was working for.
Right. Also, they have like an international team. I don't know whether it's an international team or what. Yeah, it's an international team that then.
It's they're like the visa sponsorship department.
Oh, right.
They'll be skilled in applying for those things. They'll know all of the jargon that I'm using today when you bring it up to them, because it won't be their first time applying for a certificate of sponsorship. But once you show that eligibility, they can print it out quite quickly for you and get on with that application.
Yeah. Wow. And then there is a fee. I understand there is a fee that you have to pay once you've been offered the certificate of sponsorship.
Yep.
And you pay that to the Home Office, or do you pay to your employer?
It's split into two different fees when you're applying for your visa. One is your health surcharge, and that'll be calculated by how many years your visa is, whether it's 3 or 5.
Okay.
And that's so that you can use the NHS, and basically so you're not a drain on the UK system, because they're trying to support their own people on a failing NHS at times. Resources are very limited, so you need to pay into that system to be able to use that service.
Okay.
And then you have your visa fee license. So for my 5 years, and it's probably gone up since I've applied because it's been 3 years, it was £2,000 for 5 years of using the NHS.
Wow.
And that was more expensive than my actual fee for my visa.
Yeah, but do you pay it all at once or you pay it in parts?
You pay it all at once.
Oh my goodness, that is a lot of money.
It is, yes.
And then once you have, is it 3 years you get or 5 years you get? Once that has expired, the 5 years has finished or the 3 years, do you then reapply again for an extension?
Yes, you would apply again. With 5 years, you can apply for indefinite leave to remain.
Yes.
And start your pathway to citizenship straight from there.
Yes.
At 3 years, you could apply for another 3-year extension, but at that 5-year mark again, you can apply for the indefinite leave to remain.
Ah, wow. So you see, guys, 5 years, and I can agree with what Ken is saying. If you have lived here in the UK for a continuous duration of 5 years legally, then you can apply for settlement visa. That's what he's calling the indefinite leave to remain. And then after you've had the indefinite leave to remain, then it removes all the criteria of having to pay the fee for the skilled worker visa because you're now a permanent resident in the UK.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, wow. See, that is quite a big advantage over there. Wow. Yeah. So Ken, one of the questions that my viewers keep asking me over and over and over again is how the interview process is. Yours might be different because you were already in the UK. But would you like to just tell my viewers briefly how the interview process is? Is it one interview? Is it 2 interviews? Just give them a bit of a hint.
It was 2 interviews, I believe. And, probably I scheduled a further conversation regarding my visa because I didn't want that to kind of be left on the back burner for everybody. I wanted that to be kind of upfront. And from my perspective with it is that, everybody here is British. So, the top thing on the top of their mind isn't for me to get a visa. So I had to kind of push that agenda and be like, I need X, Y, and Z. I need it by this date so I can apply for, my new visa before this current visa runs out. And here's the deadlines. So I think from my perspective, I had to be a little bit more proactive with my employer than just like the average interview process. So I think in my interview, it was quite easy to recognize that I needed a visa. And she did ask me about that. And, that really gave me the ability to bridge that gap because I was nervous about bringing up that subject.
Yeah.
However, I think that with most people, they realize, when you're in there and you're talking about your background and things like that, they'll pick up that you're probably going to need a visa and that will organically come up in the conversation.
Wow.
But I did find myself after I was hired, it was my responsibility really to push that visa agenda forward, get my certificate of sponsorship, figure out what my criteria was to register for Social Work England, get that registration, show it to my employer, and then get that certificate of sponsorship. Wow. I think I really had to take the lead on that.
Yeah.
And when people weren't answering me, because again, sometimes they're worried about something completely different than somebody's visa, especially if it's not running out right that second. Everybody thinks you have more time.
Yeah.
But reality, you don't have more time. Get it done as soon as possible. Because I scraped by like 2 days before my other visa ran out. So if I wasn't proactive, my visas would have lapsed and I would have had to leave the country and reapply from outside of it.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's the difficulty about applying inside of the UK is you have to make sure that your 2 visas don't lapse.
Run out. Yeah.
Yeah. If you've sent off the application before your visa runs out, then you're allowed to stay until they make a decision. But if you haven't sent it before that final day that's marked on your visa, you will be asked to leave the country. and apply from outside of it.
Even
so that's the difficulty.
Even for an American?
Yeah, definitely for an American, because I'm not part of the EEA.
Wow, wow. And maybe one of the questions many people would be having in their minds, everybody wants to go to the States. Why can't come to the UK?
I just found the lifestyle a little bit easier for me here. I thought that I really liked the university program that they had here. I liked the feel of the way the UK was for me and the city I was living in. And I felt like I wanted to stay. Yeah. So, when I first started my journey, when I was looking in through those lists that we've mentioned earlier, I was looking for jobs in criminology. Yeah. And there wasn't a lot going. And that's why I switched to social work, because I found that an easy route to get myself a skilled workers visa. Yeah. So that was really like this plan of becoming a social worker was kind of secondary to me living in the UK and figuring out a way to live in the UK. But I found my niche in that process. Good. So do you love the UK? Compared to the US, you obviously have more space, more bigger things than the UK. How are you? It has its positives and its negatives, but I think the biggest thing for me working in the UK is having the NHS, having that security net behind me. As much as it costs me £2,000, it's nice to know that I paid £2,000 and I'm able to just use it freely without having to worry about a bill coming, or if I did lose my job, I'm still entitled to NHS support. And I think that's the real benefit for me. As much as I hear, people complain about the NHS at times, I think it's one of the best things about the UK. And it really sells me on, keeping me debt free a lot of days. Yeah, and you would know that because health care in the US is really, really, really expensive. And I think that's something that people don't know. Yeah. That's I think that is one of the biggest factors for me staying here is the NHS. And on your visa, you're able to go back to the States, you're able to travel, there's no restrictions. There's a restriction where I think that there's a certain amount of days that I'm not allowed to surpass. I think it's 90 days outside of the UK or longer. It could be 90 days or 6 months. It's one or the other. If I spend that much time out of the UK, then my visa will be void. Right. Okay. So you can't go away on holiday for more than 90 days. Yeah, it's a stipulation that I've actually come here to work, not just get a visa and then leave. Yeah. So that's kind of stipulation. If I'm trying to become a citizen, I need to spend that full 5 years here and go through the process instead of getting the visa, going back to the United States, waiting 5 years, coming back and applying for indefinite leave to remain. Yeah, that's what they're trying to curb with. Yeah, and I think it's a fair thing, 90 days. Who goes for holiday for 90 days? I think it's a fair thing if you know you're here to work. Yeah. Wow. Oh gosh, Ken, that is such a wealth of information. Thank you so much. I'm sure no problem. That's going to benefit somebody who has been asking themselves a lot of questions. So any final tips that you would like to give my viewers before we wrap up? Yeah, my tip is there's never enough preparation that you can do. Start as early as possible and target things. Go through the lists of employers, find out what occupations they have a shortage in whatever country you're trying to move to, and see how you can take whatever skills you have and equate it to that. That would be my advice. Tailor your pathway to what your strengths are and start early. There you go, guys. Again, one more time, Ken, thank you very much because of honoring my invitation to this channel. And I hope that all of you guys that are watching this interview are going to benefit from it. And we are going to wrap this video now here, guys. And until I come back with another video, for now, I say Baraka. Say Baraka, Ken. Baraka. Baraka, there you go.